Thank you. All right, welcome to our panel conversation, and you can join in at any time. We're going to have microphones in the back, and we are going to talk about how to improve sales results. And why don't we go around and introduce ourselves, Barbara?
Thank you, Gerhard. Hi, everybody. I'm Barbara Weaver-Smith. I'm founder and CEO of the Whale Hunters, and we work with small and mid-sized companies to help them grow by learning how to do bigger deals with bigger customers. And what we're doing now is we have quite a few clients of our own who have landed big deals with companies that are actually global, but they don't know how to do global business with them yet. So my new book, Whale Hunting with Global Accounts, is teaching them how to go do global business with their new big customers.
And tell us about your new book.
The new book is called Whale Hunting with Global Accounts, and it's all about doing that business with your customers that you haven't gone global with yet. And it features 14 expert contributors, including Gerhard and Matt Hines, who is also in the audience here, will speak this afternoon. And it's a lot of fun. I'd like to introduce you to it if you come by the booth later this afternoon.
Thank you. Andrew, you come from Montana. You came in on a horse.
A donkey.
Beautiful state.
It's very nice. I'm originally from the Bay Area. My name's Andrew Field, founder and CEO of printingforless.com. We now go by the name PFL because we've outgrown our original name. We today are a marketing technology software as a service company, and we're vertically integrated, so we have sales enablement and marketing technology solutions that integrate with Oracle's Eloqua, Salesforce ExactTarget, and Salesforce Core and Marketo. And we have both automated programmatic sending of anything that goes out through the mail or through FedEx based upon your marketing flows in your marketing automation platform, as well as Swag IQ, the intelligent gifting service that works in Salesforce, and it lets you use the rich data that's within Salesforce to help your reps send the right gift to the right person at the right time to move the sales process forward.
Thank you. Jamie, you came in on your private jet from Dallas.
Absolutely. The private jet's the only way to go. I wish. I'm Jamie Crosbie, and I'm the founder and CEO of ProActivate. I started ProActivate 12 years ago after serving as vice president of sales at CareerBuilder, and prior to that being in the traditional staffing industry, and quite frankly, just saw a lot of gaps with the traditional model of recruiting, and created ProActivate to fill in those gaps. So we work with leaders of sales organizations and CEOs to protect and propel revenue as it relates to talent, whether that's replacing C players with A players, building a funnel that emulates that of your ideal candidate profile in case your top performer were to unexpectedly leave, or just helping companies grow and expand geographically or vertically. We work globally and support anything that supports revenue generation. So sales to sales leadership, marketing, things of that nature.
Thank you so much. Well, let's kick it off, and maybe we start with Barbara. How can people here in this audience learn from you on how to create bigger deals to improve sales results? And before you start, can you explain, is there a downside in pursuing bigger deals?
Well, you have to do it strategically, and you have to do it carefully so that you manage the risk. Actually, one of the best ways to grow your business is to learn how to serve bigger customers. Now, I define a whale, in my analogy, as a client who can do a deal with you that is 10 to 20 times larger than your current average deal. So whales are graduated in size. You don't go after the biggest one in the ocean the first time out. That could wind up being a killer whale. So the first thing you do that's most important is to create a profile of the ideal whale for you that includes all kinds of things like the industry, the geographic area, and many kinds of criteria that would be important. And then you very carefully go strategically out to find those companies, and then you put in place a very consistent process by which you would go out and hunt those whales that would be the best for you. You involve your entire village. It's a collaborative activity. The biggest difference when you after bigger customers is, of course, they have more buyers involved. So you begin to involve other people from your company, your subject matter experts. And as Lori said in the last presentation, the more, maybe it wasn't Lori, but earlier this morning, the handoff, it was Lori, the handoff from sales to operations is so critically important, because if that's not done well, just selling to a whale is not helpful unless you can do the delivery at the same time. So it's targeting and process and excellent delivery. And eventually it makes your company much more sophisticated, and it becomes a matter of course that you can do bigger deals. Over time, your close rate goes up, your cost of sale goes down.
Thank you. Andrew, what goes to my mind as I'm listening to Barbara is that you also need to have sort of a bigger mindset. You come from big sky country, and you have led this company through a lot of transitions to the current size, and you have transformed almost miraculously in an industry where a lot of other companies have shrunk or disappeared. And you came out on top. So can you share the mindset that you had to create that big deal company?
You know, Barbara makes a really good point about that handoff. And it's something we had to change in our mindset. So traditionally, we were the first e-commerce commercial print website, which was really cool when it was unique. But that area has now been completely commoditized. And it's not a great space. But we've moved into more custom stuff and that sort of thing. But when we got into enterprise software sales, which is only 2.5 years ago for us, so it's very new. Traditionally, we've served over 100,000 small and medium businesses and the occasional little slice of large enterprise, but not in a programmatic way. And then all of a sudden, we sell to very large names that everybody in here would recognize: large banks, large pharma, very large medical device companies, large telecom. It was a completely new world for us. We didn't understand the sales cycles. We didn't understand how we had to get more stakeholders involved. And in some cases, we found that the buyers, since they were frequently marketing or sales leadership buyers, hadn't really done a lot of onboarding of new vendors because they weren't procurement folks. And they didn't even understand their process. So what we have since learned the very, very hard way, by taking 18 months to get some deals from engagement to live, has been that we need to explore with them, all right, what is the process going to be? Who's going to need to see this? How about legal? And since it's software that's going into their current software stack, who are the security teams we need to talk to? Who are the gatekeepers? Usually there's some Salesforce admins who are very protective of what gets plugged into Salesforce.com. And we are asking those questions way earlier. Is procurement going to get involved? How about legal and security and that sort of thing? And so we've had to really learn to guide our buyer through their own buying process while also going through our selling process. And at the same time, I don't think we can overstate the importance of that transition. So when we sign a deal, we hit the gong and put a logo up on the wall, and everybody's all happy and cheering and everything. And then the real work begins. And we had a number of our earlier enterprise customers who we signed and we thought that's great, who died. So we have to put a big tombstone around them up on the logo wall. We don't take them, we're not the Soviet Union, we don't take them off the wall like they never existed. We leave them up there to remind ourselves that we failed on this customer. And we had to create an entire onboarding team and an entire customer success team, because particularly in software as a service, usage matters a lot. And when renewal time comes along, if they haven't been using it and getting the benefit, And if they haven't set up their measuring criteria and their KPIs for success in advance and don't have visibility onto that, there's no way that they're going to write that next renewal check. So it has required a complete shift in mindset for us to go from being an award-winning small business customer service company to an enterprise sales company.
Thank you. So Jamie, can you sort of complete that picture? Let's say we have a strategy in place, we have a process in place. Now you need to attract the big deal talent. How do you do that?
Well, I think, Gerhard, it's a completely different type of profile you're going after. So the first step, I think, is we have to identify the ideal candidate profile. And when you're going after a whale, it's a different profile. You have to look for people that are much more strategic in nature, that are true value sellers, but also have that long-term perspective. Because as you said, Andrew, it takes sometimes 18 months to get that deal to come to fruition. So someone who sees the big picture and has that long-term perspective versus a transactional salesperson. And it takes, you obviously want people working and winning, doing well at that today, who could then come and make an impact within your organization, where it would be an upgrade to them somehow. And finding people like that is strategic.
So is your strategy to go out to companies and cherry pick the big deal makers and then lure them to the new company? Or what can you groom somebody who has the talent to become a big deal high performer?
I think both. And definitely the way I see it, however, it is truly the perspective of our clients, because some have the bandwidth to groom someone and some do not. I personally believe if they have that peak performance mindset and that fire in the belly energy and enough experience where this would be their next level, that they can be groomed, but it's all about the bandwidth of the company. For us, in terms of going to find them, for each of our companies that we work with and our clients, we identified the ideal candidate profile, but then we create a customized strategy of which to go find them. It's very different for an entry-level transactional salesperson than a strategic salesperson. Because we've been in business 12 years, we have an extensive network of which to do referral campaigns. But our mindset is, where are these people out in the marketplace today, currently working and winning, doing well? And it's not necessarily going to pick them, from another company, but sometimes it is direct sourcing, we call that. Right. But a lot of times it's, where are they online looking for leads or business acumen? How do we capture them there? What types of networking groups or trade shows are they a part of? What types of publications are they reading? And how do we use our network to attract them? And we specialize in this space of sales talent. So that in and of itself, it takes great salespeople to find great salespeople. And there's an art to it. Yeah.
Barbara, can you hitchhike on that idea? And is it possible sort of to create a profile like of somebody who is like Moby Dick motivated?
Yeah, absolutely. But when I was researching for this book, one of the alarming things I heard when I was talking to big company buyers, a very alarming thing, they were saying, we are tired of salespeople who are shallow, who can only talk about their product and their service and what they can do. We need people who can help us make strategic decisions. And so I've spent a lot of time thinking about how can we prepare those people who are hungry and very aggressive and willing to go after Moby Dick. Then what are they going to talk to Moby Dick about? And I'm thinking of all the things that I've learned so far being here, all the new things about artificial intelligence and about augmented reality and all we know about the speed of change and the Internet of Things and everything that's happening that's affecting us as salespeople. It's affecting our clients. And how are we going to be able to talk to them? And our salespeople need to be able to have really high-level conversations. They don't have to have all the answers, but they can't be asking stupid questions like what keeps you awake at night. I like to use the example of Verizon, because I have a lot of clients who sell something to Verizon. And everybody knows Verizon is the cell phone company. But Verizon, they bought AOL because they're going to deliver content on every kind of device 24/7. And that's going to change who they are. And they've sold all their towers because they want their capital to do other things with. And they've got a service for intelligent water. And they've invested in connected cars and smart highways. And their wireless and their wired are converging. So if we're going to sell to Verizon, we need to know a lot more than we used to in order to have an intelligent conversation. So if I'm talking to a Verizon executive, I want to be able to say, how are these strategies influencing you? And, you know, how can we help? So they have a whole new place called the Thing Space, where you could go and explore what you're going to do with the Internet of Things. So it's the new Verizon. It's not here yet. But we have to have these conversations with our salespeople and get all of our key executives in those lunch and learns too, right? So we can all talk about what's going on and what's going on with wearable and digital and how it's going to affect what our customers are living with and thinking about that they have to make hard decisions about every day.
So in essence, you want to teach salespeople to connect with customers around a theme that's relevant for them and not for your company. And what I sense here is there's also an emotional component. And maybe Andrew, you can explain how you target the heartstrings of those higher level decision makers to get that emotional energy you need to get to that conversation platform.
Sure, we all know that the psychologists tell us that people will do more to avoid loss than they will to gain a potential gain. So if you're going to potentially lose $50, you want to avoid that because that's your $50 you're losing, whereas somebody else's $50 you might gain will not motivate people to change as much. And pretty much in a selling process, you're asking somebody to make a change, unless it's a renewal, in which case you want to stress all the benefits, because people will do the same thing to reap known benefits, yet to take the risk, particularly we have found selling to larger companies of change, and in the corporate political BS world, it's risky to propose a change, that we have to inflict or inject a sense of what am I losing? So the problem we solve is pretty basic, and it is at the highest level, sales and marketing effectiveness. So we bring some stats to bear, because there's a lot of stats like the ones we just saw from Mike Schultz about activities and what people aren't doing and ineffectiveness and churn and that sort of thing. We bring stats about marketing ineffectiveness. And I'm sorry, email is becoming less and less effective. The response rates are becoming less and less. Now people have SaneBox, which does sort of like Google for your Outlook inbox, and it can just, the stuff just goes away. You never see it. So we bring a lot of stats about what they're missing out on by not using the best, most effective multi-channel marketing and using the rich behavioral data about users that's resident in a marketing automation platform to inform their most expensive touches, which is anything in the channels we serve, anything with a USPS or a FedEx label on it. So we work through with them ROI. We will not make a proposal until we have real numbers from them on an ROI slide in that deck. We learned it doesn't work if we don't do it. It's like, yeah, that's nice, because what we're doing is pretty new, so nobody had it on their initiatives for this year or this quarter. It wasn't already part of their KPIs. We have to get them to change behavior, to change priorities, or, yeah, we'll put that in next year's budget, which is fairly painful. So we go in and explore with them what their ROI is, and not how much they can make, but how much they're missing out on every quarter that they don't have this solution in place. Right. And I would think that most of us could do that. You know, if we think about industrial janitorial services, what does it cost when that clean room is down for a period of time and it's not producing product, for instance? What are they losing by not having their facilities up and ready to go and at maximum efficiency?
So you didn't go far enough with the emotional target the heartstrings. And you are sending customers gifts.
Oh, yeah. So I think that selling today is largely ROI, but it does start with relationships. I'll give you an example. We have a guy who just finished running the Western States 100, so it's a 100-mile race, and he achieved his personal goal. He's not as fast as Dan, but he achieved his personal goal of getting it under 24 hours, and this was the third time he had run it. He is a great guy, been with us a long time. I would not call him the picture of a sophisticated enterprise sales guy. He's an outdoors guy and an athlete and not super duper polished, but he can make connections, partly because of his personality. And he doesn't start from the top and go down. He kind of starts from the bottom or the middle and moves his way up. And he's able to do that. And he has gained extremely effective champions. One of the little tools, not to give a commercial here, but he uses we drink our own champagne because who likes dog food? And he sends out gifts. So at key points, when something is stalled or somebody's not responding or somebody's not engaging or your emails and voicemails are going unresponded to, we go in and pick something out. And for instance, he might have sent a white paper or something like that digitally and not really gotten any engagement or response. So he will send a printed out version of it with a PFL branded coffee mug and 3 Starbucks Vias and a nice note that says, hey, I know you've been busy, probably haven't had a chance to read that PDF. Why don't you sit outside, have a cup of coffee on me and read that white paper and let's catch up to talk about it, and et cetera. And it gets printed out on a nice little card with his picture and his scripty signature, and it feels very personal. And people kind of can't ignore that. I mean, it comes in a FedEx box, so you have to open it up and engage. And he has been very effective in getting people to engage with him. And as I said, what we do is not all that complicated. And if we can get people to engage and share some numbers with us and do the ROI calc, the process moves forward from there.
Awesome. Thank you. Good commercial.
You set me up for it.
If you're not going to do one,
Yeah, if you're not going to do it. I want to say one more thing about
Sure.
the talent, the talent thing. That rock star enterprise salesperson popped out of his mom many years ago, just like all the rest of us did. So there was a growth process to get them there. And I completely agree with the approach of find that person and pluck them, and you shorten your ramp time dramatically. I think that's very important. I think it also needs to be combined with a grow your own strategy, because those people got grown somewhere. And we're a little remote, 50 miles north of Yellowstone National Park, so we pursue both a get them somewhere as well as a grow your own, and we invest very heavily in the sales tools, the educational tools, the training, and the coaching. And I think that we're not a public company, so we don't have to hit our forecasts, and we don't have to have super accurate forecasts. So I'm so happy that we don't spend very much time. I mean, we saw a slideshow yesterday. It looked like that guy's only job was forecasting, because it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday was his cycle for forecasting. And I would take 75% of that time and put it into coaching and growing talent.
Jamie, let's talk about coaching. And you have built your company on your own and grew it, and you developed other people. What is your success rate with coaching your people to sell to larger clients?
Well, I think a couple things on that. One, just my background prior to ProActivate, being VP of Training and Development as well as Sales for Career Builder, developed a very strategic strategy in which to go approach larger clients. And really, to Barbara's point, to look at them differently. And you can't put all your focus in that one basket of larger, but it has to be a strategic balance, but it's a different approach. And so, yes, I think we have a successful approach for teaching both our people as well as our clients how to go do that and have a strategic value impact selling process. And to your point, and just in regard to getting bigger deals or improving sales process, we have to have a replicatable sales process to teach people, and a proven formula for success. Just like we're talking about running 300 miles. A marathoner, I've run a marathon. If you finish a marathon and have your best time and someone says, well, how'd you do that? And you just say, well, I just got lucky. I made it happen. I finished. You're never going to do it again, or it's not likely. And just like in sales, one of the things we are looking for is people who know how they win. They know their replicatable formula for success. They didn't just get lucky. They didn't just get a big whale because they got lucky once or someone handed it to them. But they know how they did it, because then you know they can do it again. So part of what we're teaching and coaching, I mean, our tagline is hire the best. So it starts with getting the best of the best talent, but upgrade the rest. How do you develop those people to continually grow? And a true leader, like in my book, changes the trajectory of the outcome of their team.
Awesome. We're about 4.5 minutes left, so I want to open it up for audience questions with microphones. Just raise your hand as a question pops in your mind, and chime right in. Yes, go ahead.
So I just wanted to follow up, Jamie, what you said was really interesting about your experience from Career Builder and training and development. Could you expand on that a little bit so you can get a little more insights about how you bring that kind of customer thinking into selling, what you sell in your organization in terms of services?
Sure. Expand on the training that we did, or I want to make sure I answer your question.
So you were at Career Builder running a certain function, training and development, I understand.
Yes, yes.
And now with Proactivate, it's a smaller company.
Sure.
So what practical tools have you brought from that experience?
Okay, that's a great
that most
question.
small businesses of that size wouldn't have?
Well, it's interesting. It's a great point. I intentionally knew I always wanted to start my own company someday, so I worked for very entrepreneurial companies that allowed me to run my business within their company, like Career Builder. I'm probably different from most companies that start initially, because day one of my new business, I had my training manuals written for salespeople, for the delivery, the talent managers, we call them. And so I brought, to your point, that experience that I had. My first job ever, I walked in, I was handed a phone and a desk, there was no training, and so I was the one who said, okay, well, I'll create it then. If there's nothing here, I'll create it for others. So I actually did take that experience at Career Builder and bring it to Proactivate. And all of our people have a very defined fast start, ramp up program, a very thorough training program from our mission, our values, our culture, all the way to delivery and expansion of accounts, every step of the sales process within. And I think it's important, no matter what size your company is, to invest in your people and give them the formula for success. So we do that, and we also do that for our clients. Some of our clients, where we help them find talent, also ask us to help develop a customized training for them. And it is very, it's a strategic selling process. And so we're not talking to people, honestly. I don't like to be even called recruiter, because we don't see ourselves, our model's so unique. We're not talking to people about hiring, or, ultimately we're talking about their revenue goals and really the value of a sales team member, and how a C player has a 67% variance in production of an A player, and the impact of that, and the impact of lost revenue from a open position, and things that are bigger picture in nature. Ultimately, salespeople being the lifeblood of their organization, we have to talk about bigger picture things. So the training and development is very critical in that.
I have a follow-on question to something you just said. When you're bringing in additional A players to your team, and you have the entire range of employees that you're looking at, how do you how do you best meld your current A player with your new A player for success?
So in that question, I have a follow-up question for you. Are they different profiles in the past? Are you saying you're trying to upgrade the team in general? Or is that A player what you want them, I'm assuming, because you're calling him an A player, what you want them to be today?
We're taking the A player profile that we already have established within the company, and then taking that we want basically to go
Okay, so I think that's a great point, because bringing in that new energy, an A player raises the level of the game for the rest of the team just by doing that. I remember at Career Builder, we had our area sales managers weekly interview top performers and put the next names of their hires on a chalkboard in their office. And the team members could see all the time, every Friday, I had all my area sales managers interviewing at least 2 people. So they would know who would replace if their top performer promoted or their C player left. So just the art of raising the bar and hiring a better A player is going to raise the game. But also, I think, if you think about, okay, what's the difference between this profile and this new profile? Having that person who's there, A, involved in developing the person and the things they're really good at, so they still feel important, but also having them in the training on the things that are different where you're wanting to raise the bar. And again, on that, I think it's very important to have honest conversations with our salespeople. I was asked by our CEO, who just showed up at my office one day at Career Builder, just, hey, I'm going to go around and ask all your people, what's the #1 thing Jamie thinks you need to develop? And if they don't know, I'm going to be concerned. And they did, thank goodness, because we had one-on-ones regularly and we talked about it. But it's fine for your A player to know what you think raises the bar for them directly. And they should know that, because if we want to grow, like we learned this morning, we have to be uncomfortable and out of our comfort zone, which means constant coaching and development.
Awesome. One final question.
I'd like to talk about whale hunting. This is something that's near and dear to my heart. Like my biggest deal was $10 million annual, $30 million total contract value, and numerous deals below that. But I still find it hard to think about how I would develop empirical data about which people are good at whale hunting and how the company develops empirical data in general.
The reason that we use the analogy of whale hunting is because the Inuit people who hunted whales did so as an entire village. Whale hunting is totally a team collaborative activity. So the whale hunters were very patient. They were wonderful teachers. The children started learning about the age of 4, how they could contribute. And the whales only come in the springtime. And so they spent all winter preparing. And so unlike a rock star, the person who's the best whale hunter is more like an orchestrator or a team leader. And so it's not the same skill set as a buffalo hunter. Someone who is very good at and motivated to lead a team. It has to be a very collaborative person, and a person who is good at taking even a back seat in a meeting so that he or she is orchestrating the contributions of everyone else in the team, because you have a lot of people on the boat and you have a lot of people involved on the other side who are taking part in the decision making. So it's a very different kind of skill set. I believe that good whale hunters can definitely be grown from within. They are definitely a different skill set. It's not a high ego skill set. It's a very high motivation skill set, but not a high ego, not a need to be in the spotlight. Does that help?
Well, time is up, and I want everybody to give our panelists a big hand. It was wonderful. Thank you.